Hey everyone, I hope you're having a fantastic day so far. Today, I wanted to talk about money, okay? And more specifically, a game that really teaches you how to apply your money effectively. Now, have any of you heard of Robert Kiyosaki? You probably have. Now, he wrote this famous book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I remember reading this back in 2014, and there was a colleague who told me about it, and I was fascinated by it. I was so fascinated. On a Friday, she told me. I read it within 2 days, and on a Monday, when I came back to work, I told her, that book was amazing. She's like, I haven't even read it yet. But it really sort of like escalated into me getting part of this whole property network and all this kind of stuff there. Now, due to illness and all this kind of stuff there, I didn't, follow on into being a property investor, but I learned so much on that journey. What I did do though is invest in Robert Kiyosaki's coaching program. Okay, so this was one-to-one coaching. It wasn't with him, unfortunately, but it was with one of his coaches. And I believe it was like a 8 week program, whatever it may be, which was really good at the time. However, I wasn't ready as a person to really sort of like take on what was being said like properly. If I was to do that again, I think I'd kill it. But anyway, that's a different story. The point being made is this whole experience introduced me to a game called cash flow. Okay. Now, if you've read Rich Dad Poor Dad, he talks about the cash flow quadrant and he talks about the employee and the self-employed. And we're trying, people need to move away from being in the employee bucket and the self-employed bucket because basically it's a rat race, and move into the business owner bucket and eventually the investor. That's where sort of like the real magic happens. He goes on to say that most people are really trying to do two buckets at one time. So maybe you are an employee, but also trying to be a business owner, or maybe you are self-employed, but also really employed. Okay. It depends with different people. The point I'm making is that sometimes we sit into two different camps, but that's not even the main reason why I'm doing this video. I'm doing this video because I came across a picture, on my Instagram back in the day where I was doing a talk for, I think it's BYP, Black Young Professionals Network, back in the day when they were young and, they were kind of sort of like navigating, iterating. And they invited me to do a talk around this game, cash flow. Okay. And, rather than just sort of like talk about the game and all that kind of stuff there, I want to talk about the lessons. Okay, the lessons in the game. If you want to find out more about this game, you can click on the link somewhere below in the description and you can find out more information there. It's a fantastic game. And I believe that there's a newer version, but I prefer the old version where you're dealing with cash rather than credit and all that kind of stuff there. So I'm going to be using my LinkedIn as a way to sort of like give me the prompts because I wrote a post on this. I think it was last week. So the first point centered around money is don't get emotional. Okay. And there are points in the game where sometimes you may land on getting a baby. You can have up to 3 babies in a game, or you may get a doodad, or you may have to fork out money for a loan because you've had to pay some random expense. But don't get emotional. It's just a game. And you can apply that to life. And some people may say, like, life is not just a game. And I guess it depends on perspective, really. You get to decide how you think about it. I'm not saying it actually is a game, but sometimes you need to treat it like a game. And that's in moments where you get emotional. That's in moments where things feel dire, where you have to really kick into resilience when things are complex or ambiguous or very challenging. Okay. So try to treat it as a game because these things are going to happen whether you like it or not. If things were going up all the time, there'd be no point to life. Where's the variation? Where's the growth? Where's all these different things that makes life colorful and dynamic? So bear that in mind. That's the first thing. The second thing I want to say is a higher paying job doesn't mean success. I talk about contracting all the time because I think it is a way to potentially accelerate many people who are stuck. Many people who have an entrepreneurial mindset, an ambitious mindset, who want to, I don't know, start a business or do something big and bold, but they just don't have the means. So I feel like contracting or consulting is a way to get into that space. Okay, because again, the capital that comes in based on the services that you provide in exchange means that you have that chance and opportunity. I think it's Parkinson's law. I need to check this, but I know it's called lifestyle creep now. States that, as you make more money, you spend more money. So in other words, people who typically make more spend more. And it's your ability to keep money that allows you to stand out from the crowd because then that money that you keep can be utilized for something more beneficial. So think about it like that. Like, how much money can you keep? It doesn't mean you should use your money, But yeah, you have to kind of be strategic in terms of what you spend your expenses on. I'm not saying don't have fun, don't do this, don't do that. What I am saying is be sensible. Splash a little bit here and there, treat yourself. Why not? But don't do it every time. I know this after the summer holidays, there was a period after a really stressful personal time where I thought, forget it, I'm not cooking anything. I said to my missus, look, we're just eating Deliveroo, Uber Eats, whatever. We did that for 3 weeks. Problems came, my friend, problems. Okay? You don't want it. You don't want the health problems. So it's not even just from a money standpoint, from a health standpoint, or from a mind standpoint. Yeah, just be a bit more sensible because I know a lot of money goes on food and everything else. So that's the second thing. The third thing I want to say is know what's coming in and out of your bank account. Okay. There are times in the game where I've played it where I had no clue what was coming in and out of my account. I didn't even know how much I made. But I was just playing the game because I was like, I need to get out of the rat race. There's this circular sort of like board and there's a bigger board, and you're trying to get out of this rat race so you can get into the bigger board and, achieve your dream or whatever it may be. So you have to be in a position where you know exactly how much you're making, exactly what your expenses are, and exactly what the net cash flow is. That's why it's called cash flow. And the aim of the game is to replace cash flow, replace the amount that you get in terms of expenses with cash flow, should I say. So if your expenses are £1,000 or £1,500, you need to make some passive income that pertains to £1,500. And then that's how you get out of the rat race. Then you can start working towards your dream because money is working for you. So I'm not talking about just capital cash. I'm not talking about injections of cash. I'm talking about regular ways of making money, okay, that requires less of you. That is hard to do as human beings. We believe we are the center of this world, so to speak, because this is our perspective. But if you can find a way to be a bit more objective, they call it in psychology, psychological objectivity, or flexing your psychological muscle, then you're in a position of strength because it's not about emotions anymore. It's about winning the game. That's the aim. It's about winning the game. So remember, know what comes in and out of your account. The fourth thing is it starts with cash. And I'm sure you guys have seen this when it comes to things like the recession and all that kind of stuff there. The more cash you've had, the better you are able to afford certain things that have been really expensive during this time. Okay, it's the truth. If you're asset rich in your property, your, stocks and shares of Bitcoin, one, it takes time for that money to come out. And two, it's not accessible. It's not accessible. So cash is king and queen here. You have to be able to have cash. And so when it comes to the game, there are two types of deals. There are big deals and small deals, and I'll talk about that later. But essentially, you start off with the small deals, typically. And essentially what you do is in these small deals, sometimes it's stocks and shares, sometimes it's trading, whatever it may be. There's high risk, and there's high risk and high reward, so to speak. Sometimes there's low risk and high reward. You need to see what the return on investment is. But that money that you make, depending on the market conditions, allows you to invest in things that make you more money. That's how it works. So stack cash. Find ways to do this. By the way, I'm not a financial advisor. I don't want to be a financial advisor. I have thought about it at some point in my life, but it's not something that I'm really connected to in that way. My thing is more consulting and coaching. That's my space. So I just want to put that caveat there. If you want real financial advice, go to a qualified financial advisor. Okay, cool. I've said my piece there. That's all good. So it starts with cash. Okay. Think about ways in which you can stack cash, save more money, put it, in a pot or a savings, hopefully in a high interest rate one, if you're lucky these days. And that could work for you. So you can put it into things that make sense. Okay. So that's another thing to bear in mind. Now, one thing that I didn't mention in this list that I want to say now is the fact that it's very important to make sure that you have some sort of dream in mind. Now, the beginning of the game, it says, what dream do you want to choose? And there's probably like 10 or 12 different things. Okay. Why is that important? If you have a dream in mind, you have a strategy that you can work from. And with that strategy, you have a set of objectives that really create KPI, so key performance indicators, and success criteria that you need to meet that relate to habits and things you need to do. That was very program management, very project management, but that's just the way I think. So if you have a dream, if you have a vision, if you have a future for what your life wants to be, or how you'd like your life to be, you can think about, okay, cool, what are the values, the things that are important to me that I want to uphold, or what are the values of someone who has done this successfully, so that you can start to create objectives for yourself, key metrics, and activities that you need to do day to day, week to week, or on an ad hoc basis. So have a dream in mind. Okay. So that's the fifth thing. The sixth thing is there are big deals and small deals. Okay. Why do I say this? Know your portion. Okay. Sometimes we think we're border shop call or whatever it may be. Yeah. Know your portion. If you don't have the money to do a big deal, you need to focus on those small deals. Okay. And in the game, occasionally there were properties that were small deals, but again, for those of you in the UK, those properties may be very far away from London. Okay, if you're willing to go down that route, maybe you become a property sourcer as an example. Maybe you trade if that is something that you want to get into. Okay, I know some people are like, oh, I don't do this X, Y, and Z. It could all work. It just depends on your mindset and what you're willing to do and sit down and learn. But the point being made is know your portion and know what you're willing to do. In the game, quite interestingly, however, you had the opportunity to start a business, and depending on market conditions, that took a while for your business to boom. So for those of us who are, consultant creators or coach creators, we're put in a position where actually you have to understand it takes time to build your business. And it's not just based on the market, it's based on many, many, many other factors. Okay, so it makes sense for us to, and I've written this here, understand our vision, our values, and velocity. I got this from a book called Portfolio Life. So vision being, how do I see my future? What do I want my future to be? Values being the things that we deem as important to us based on experiences and what you want to achieve. And the last thing, velocity, how quickly do you want to get there? Okay. This is how we meet good partners, whether that's friends or business partners or even your romantic relationships. And the seventh thing I want to say is risk is part of the game. Now, we live in the UK, which is a conservative country, no pun intended, but that's not necessarily a good or bad thing. The point I want to make is if you want to be successful, there has to be a level of risk. You can't avoid it. Okay, and risk is perceived by the person, but of course you can be quite mathematical with it, you can be quite scientific with it, you can check past stuff, but risk happens. And so you need to be able to manage risk the way you need to manage risk. If you're trading as an example, okay, you have to be able to manage risk rather than just throwing money in the stock market, into the market like the forex exchange or wherever it may be. You have to be able to know what you're willing to lose. And that's the best way to see it. If you know what you're willing to lose, then you can manage risk really well. So hopefully that gives you an idea in terms of how you manage all of this stuff. I've written here, of course, you take chances based on potential return on investment, really big one, the current cash flow that you have, and the accessible cash that will not bankrupt you. So if you haven't played this game, check out the link below. I think you would love this game. You should play it with your friends, your family, whatever it may be, because it really, really, really does invoke this idea of how to be when it comes to, again, somebody who wants to be successful in this game and get out of the rat race. Hopefully this was helpful. If you want to see more videos centered around life management, portfolio careers, and all things positive and great, then make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. And as always, my friends, understand, reach, and expand. Peace.